I believe you photographed Mother Teresa. I think I recall a photograph of yours that she's sitting in an empty room. She's praying. Can you tell us a little bit about the experience of photographing her? What were you doing there? A little bit of how were you feeling? The human side of the moment or the story that you were working on.
That one's a layered one, Kike. It's I in a former existence, I was a fashion photographer in Europe for many years, and sort of too blind to understand the power of reality. And in art school, I didn't do well in any of the 3 semesters of photojournalism. In fact, I failed all 3 semesters because nobody empowered me and enlightened me to the power of indisputable realities. And so I came back to the US and took a job at a newspaper and as a stringer and then an intern. And I didn't care. I just wanted to learn. I used the paper like they used me. And I would save coins. So if I go to the store and wanted chewing gum, let's say, and it was $1.05. If I had the 5 cents in my pocket, I'd still give $2 and then say thank you for the 95 cents and put it in a thing. And so I set myself to do a story in India on Mother Teresa and the Dalai Lama, both in one trip, just reaching out to them, and they welcomed me. So I didn't spend a tremendous amount of time with Mother Teresa, maybe a day or two. And so this moment, but really it's not this moment. I hope not to overextend the question for you, but in this moment, it was morning prayers at the Missionaries of Charity in Kolkata, and then she just stayed longer in the room to pray, and I just felt there was some added presence to that, sort of solitude of her meditation. Prayer is meditation. Meditation is prayer. And it's a very simple moment. But afterwards, she came out, and this is where it really, all these mystical pieces come together in life. So I said, Mother Teresa, so really, I'm paraphrasing, but Mother, I guess you'd call her Mother, or Mother Teresa. So I'm really, thankful that you've allowed me to spend this time with you. I'd love to do, more about what your work is that you do here for people here in Calcutta and around the world. And she says, so she cuts me off politely. Says, John, everybody knows what I do, and I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. I didn't say that. Yeah, you're right. And so you need to go to the house of the dying, the home for the dying. And that's all she said. She said, just go to the home for the dying. And maybe she said something else. And then she's very, very busy, or was. She's of course, unfortunately, no longer with us. And so we found out from another nun there where the home dying was, and went there. And I'll never forget knocking on the door, this very indescript building, maybe 3-4 kilometers away. And this nun opened the door and like, what do you want? And it's like, oh, Mother Teresa sent us here. We want to, here to do a story about the home for the dying. And it wasn't like, emphatically excited in that wording, but, trying to tell her that Mother Teresa told us to come here because we were doing a story about, she told us to come here to visit. And she looked around, she looked at I just had one camera on my shoulder maybe. And she said, get in here, go inside. How do you know what it's like to do anything here? Put your cameras down and get in there and start bathing people who have lice. And for the next 2 or 3 hours, I picked lice out of people's hair, bathed their sored skins. And I finally realized and it's with me every day. And that's another thing that's with me every day. You do not know until you've experienced it. And you don't come in anything that you do, whether you're a cook, whether you run a bank, whether you're a photographer, whether you're a musician, whether you dig graves in a cemetery, it doesn't matter. Put down the tool and understand why you're there. And to that, from that day, 20 some years ago, every time I'm definitely in a situation where it's labor oriented, absolutely with labor, or something physical to understand the place, I put down the camera and I carry 80 kilo sacks of sorghum on my back to understand, and with the workers to understand what it's like to do this job, because otherwise I'm just photographing it and really understanding it on the surface. And so there's just one of many, many givings that moment after Mother Teresa came out of the room, it changed everything about how I think and breathe and feel, and in this case, photograph.